Today is Wednesday, June 1st, 2022. Time is precisely 10 a.m. This is a special meeting agenda to continue our fiscal year 23 budget deliberations. Officially calling the meeting to order. Attending Commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Filios. Any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll be going through our various departments this morning and beginning with Juvenile Detention. So who will lead us here?
Good morning, Commissioners. Eric Sheffield, Juvenile Detention, here with Brandy Bradley to present the Juvenile Detention budget for budget year 22-23. If I could draw your attention to the budget summary sheet, you should have that in front of you. That just highlights adjustments that we've made to our budget, the most significant adjustments over last year's budget. We'll start with A and take a look at what we have on the summary sheet here. We are having some succession planning occurring after October, and we expect to have overlap positions. So those amounts that you see there, the 1514 and the 4345, are what those overlaps will cost. So one is for a supervisor being promoted, and the other one is to bring in an admin specialist to the front office, and there'll be a 30-day training period there. So we're requesting those funds to cover those costs.
Okay.
Hiring incentives, this was placed here based on a recommendation from the auditor's office, and we recently approved money for $1,000 hiring bonuses for juvenile detention specialists, and we have a lot of positions to fill. We're at 7 right now. We're expecting a couple more vacancies. We had money allocated for that for this budget year out of salary savings, and this $5,000 was just recommended that be placed in there to help cover that cost going into 2023. All right, and then if we take a look at the B budget here, overall, we have an increase of 3.77% over last year. And that's primarily due to onboarding expenses, where typically we would budget for 5 hires. This year we're budgeting for 8, and they're just extra costs associated with that onboarding. For example, the mental health services has gone up. Those are about $700 each for those psychological evaluations. So do the math, that's 8 of those. Traveling and training has gone up accordingly because of costs associated with post, per diems, travel, uniforms, onboarding, etc. And then we do have one non-cap request, and this is for a cafeteria table. We have aging tables. I mean, these tables are 10 years plus old. I did the math. They get used about 1,000 times each a year because we put them up and down 3 times a day for meals. And our maintenance has done a great job of refurbishing those all along, but we have one that we really need to replace. So we're requesting a replacement on that table. And the cost, they're pretty expensive, but we received a bid on that for $2,841.
Okay.
So I want to talk about the A budget a little bit.
All right.
When you're talking about the succession planning for both positions, will the new hires be brought in probably maybe below or at the same wage as the exiting people?
Well, for the admin specialist position, that'll be brought in. Well, I think the director has some discretion as to where the starting pay on that is. I have a spreadsheet here, and we used a calculation, and we're bringing that person in at a grade 4, step 1. So the rate on that is $1,540, and that's how we came up with that dollar amount.
So I guess it sounds like it would be potentially covered because the wage difference. So I'm not sure. We need to budget for the event, but not necessarily put dollars towards it because it will be collected within that savings throughout the year. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
And then the hiring incentives, if we are full, then we don't need hiring incentives. So if we're not full, then I think we can use some of that savings captured from those open positions to do the incentives. So my suggestion would be to approve those 3 items, but not put any dollars behind them because of the savings that's going to be captured. So does that, Brandy, are you following that?
Yeah, the thought process behind their sign-on bonuses was just that there are multiple other departments that you'll see in the personnel meeting.
Which I will be saying the same
requesting-
thing.
Yes, requesting all that. So it was a mid-year change, so I just asked, is this something you also want to add to your FY23 ask?
Yeah, which is
So
appropriate
that will
question.
come forward along with everybody else's requests.
So when you say savings, you mean in terms of the currently open positions?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, because if we're needing to incentivize people, that means we have more openings than we can live without. So that's, so that would be my suggestion.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Well, are we going to
We're going to vote on
give
this?
direction?
Okay, go right ahead. What are we thinking?
Okay, so I'm thinking we approve the detention supervisor overlap, we approve the admin specialist overlap, we improve the hiring incentives, but the annual cost is $0 for all 3 of those, because we'll use salary savings to do that.
Right, which is what you indicated earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the direction.
Okay.
Okay? Got it?
Okay, got
Okay,
it.
thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner.
Repro. So who's here from Repro?
I don't see anybody, so we can
Okay, let's skip over that. Let's go to
skip over airport as well.
the airport.
Right.
Buildings and grounds, Greg. Come punch a button.
Here's Ripple Graphics.
Okay.
Oh, there's Repro. You're on, Dave.
All right, well, you guys can stay there.
You
Hey,
can
Greg,
stay there. You don't need to
you guys,
move.
You
Dave,
don't
you
need to
can come up
move.
here.
Dave,
Got enough
yeah, you've got
tables.
2 other,
Here,
Dave, we're going to time you. We're shooting
Up in
for 90
front.
seconds.
and if anybody brought us these things, then we'll take them when your time comes up. So,
Go, Dave.
I don't know what to say. Keep my budget flat. The only thing that's changed is they moved the postage money from the general funds into my budget. So that's my increase right there substantially. A little over $300,000 was moved. Other than that, I just moved money around. It's looking pretty good about getting a car from the sheriff's here in the next week or so. So that's looking good. Anything else?
oh, well,
So basically, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to know about your salary as the director, the manager. How are you paid relative to other people in a similar position?
I'm sorry, you can say that?
How are you paid relative to other people in a similar position?
That's, actually, I don't know if I can really answer that question. That's hard to, because when I've done my own research, the Kootenai County has a unique print shop. It's not just not a print shop, it's also the mail center and shipping and receiving. So we cover all those bases, so it's not, that's the problem even with my employees, finding positions that match equally, because we do more broadly and all, the positions within the shop are shared, not just like, pre-press or a mail person. Those positions are sure all of what's done. So there's other counties and such where the print shop and stuff might be put under purchasing, let's say. So, I honestly can't answer that. I know through the salary survey, supposedly that was supposed to be asked when we talked last
Right,
August,
right,
I think
right.
it was. And so we're just kind of in a hold pattern, what I guess comes from that.
See what that comes out, how that comes out.
Yeah, and more than likely, that's going to be the case. The wage study will help us in that regard,
Good.
which will take effect at fiscal '23, so it'll roll right into this.
And even when they don't get a specific one for, it's internally,
Even if we don't get a precise.
if we don't get a
match,
precise match, then you're going to be weighted internally with
Yep.
similar
Yep.
operations.
That's what I was hoping, because like I said, I
Yes.
was hoping
Yes.
there's a couple grades moved up, and when
Yeah.
I was looking at, so there's an X amount of managers in
Yeah.
that higher grade. And based on my position, what I do, you know, I have full budget authority, personnel issues, direction the shop is going. You know, I'm fully accountable for the shop as far as what's happening with it, you know, good or bad. And hopefully, you know, it's been good. You know, I've heard a lot of complaints, so
Yeah.
I must be doing something right.
Yep.
You know, I do my best to keep costs down. We don't get carried away with getting new machines and stuff unless we absolutely need it. And,
Appreciate it.
you know, I'm a taxpayer too, and that's what I look at.
Thank
I don't
you.
wanna
And we
pay too much
appreciate-
if I don't have to.
We appreciate it, Dave. And yeah, you know, your situation is not unique. We have some other department heads where the match is not precise with external comparisons, and sometimes we're gonna have to make those adjustments, and we'll take that up during, you know, as a result of the wage study.
Okay?
Cool. Are we okay?
Yep, I'm
Direction?
good. There isn't any,
Billy, we're just,
he's flat.
you're flat. You're good to go.
Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, commissioners. Bill applying here. Send it to the commissioner's office.
All righty. While you're here, huh?
While you're here. Instead of going through, you know.
I appreciate that type of expediency for sure.
Okay.
All
Sure.
right, building and grounds.
Go Greg, Buildings and Grounds. Thank you, Dave.
Sorry for keeping you waiting.
That's all right, Dave. We're good. We're, in the A budget, we're looking to combine two positions, two part-time to a full-time position. That increased at about $47,000. That's about the only thing in that. My B budget, we're kind of unique because everything's gone up in price, fertilizers, snow removal, equipment. Motor vehicle fuels, you know, that's a huge increase. That's, you know, 40 to 50% increase there.
So what's your increase on the B?
On the B, we're looking about $36,000
Over last year.
over last year.
Okay.
And then the only non-capital request, I'm asking for a snow plow for $8,350. Because we're, you know, some of ours are pretty old, so they're just not holding up as well as they used to.
Back to the 2 part-times to a full-time. So you're saying the 2 part-time seasonals going to a full-time is going to increase 47,000?
That's the numbers they gave me.
It seems high.
That's,
It's 23,000 apiece.
Okay, so we're freezing a jail maintenance position to help fund it, and also freezing a building and grounds maintenance. The savings from those two are 17,000, and the increase to add that maintenance operator 2 position is 64. So when you net them all together, you have a $46,000 increase.
she came
Okay,
in
because
with
it should be $16,000 each for each of those positions for 32,000.
16,000 for the 2 frozen positions.
So the 2 seasonal positions should have been 16,000 each?
I can go back and double check, but the auditor's office has them at 8,600 for one and 9,200 for the other.
That's probably because there were 5 months, basically a piece,
Okay.
instead of budgeting for the whole amount that we had.
We had,
Yeah.
yeah, one of them at $16 an hour, one of them at 15. I can go back and look at it, but what are you saying you think they would be
I thought we approved last year 16,000 each.
for each? So
For
your
each.
savings, the savings would be higher.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to go back and look at it.
Yeah, but I mean, he needs it. We've got to get away from the 2 seasonals and get to a full-time. So that, there's just a need there that's not going to go away.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was about a $20 an hour hiring rate, so.
Okay?
Okay. So what did we decide there? Is it 47?
Well, she's got to go back and look.
Check on it?
Yeah, she's
Okay.
got to look. But I mean, I'm
Yeah.
for the position no matter what, because he's been able to keep a full staff. And our maintenance is just getting more and more. And with all the projects, the building and the HVAC and all that, he's going to need an extra body.
Got it.
And the savings probably will be higher. It looks like we calculated it, each of those only at 520 hours. That was probably direction we were given at some point for actual hours being worked. But I can go back and see what was approved last year and take out that whole amount.
Okay,
So that's probably what it was.
thank you. Okay.
Okay. On the B budget, 36 grand, you okay with that?
I don't know that we have a choice. I mean, we can say no, and then he stops snow plowing
Yeah, well,
when he runs out of fuel money. I mean, there's not,
And you need a plow
And we need a plow.
for 8,300?
yeah.
Okay.
And that was an increase to the janitor's budget and stuff also, because we always go over on that. So hopefully we'll be even on that this year, and the supplies, janitor supplies.
Okay.
Okay.
Capital?
There was no capital.
No
Because
capital.
the capital threshold's now 10 grand, so his snow plow is considered
Okay.
non-capital equipment,
Got it.
so
Okay. Direction?
I think we're,
We've got it, right?
good. Yeah. Did you want to go over 5-year plan stuff?
Yeah, we can do that too.
So I have a question for the auditor's office, because what I want to make sure that I'm comparing apples to apples. I haven't had a chance to organize my books since yesterday. We, on this sheet, this is what I was asking for, but you had it on the flip side. So it's just a
Okay.
little bit different than what I was used to. And I think what we did was 5 years facility plan had 1.5 million. So I want to make sure that that's what we have.
You want to make sure 1.5 million is budgeted in that one?
In the
5-year plan?
assigned fund balance.
Okay.
So if I can find your thing here. Yeah, see, it's not on this sheet. The 1.5 million for capital planning is on this sheet, but everything else it looked like got lumped into the facilities plan. So I'll talk to you afterwards and I'll show you what I have.
Okay, so fund balance layout is what you're talking about?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry, fund
Thank you.
balance layout. Yes.
Yep, we can look at that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I probably just wanted just a brief thing that you're just going to tell us about how much.
Yeah, just give us a summary.
Okay, we have flooring for the courthouses and everything. It's 50 grand. There's 100, 150.
So some of that stuff is actually restricted funds, and so that won't come out of the 1.5 million.
Yeah, and then we have about 200,000. Well, it was coming out of the 5-year, but now if we use the ARPA funds, there's another 200,000 we'll lose.
Which I think we took care of that yesterday, but you weren't here.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, so
is your 5-year stuff actually in the budget?
There's 192,000 in that budget right now.
Okay,
It's courtroom flooring, jail slider replacement. Do you want me to tell you everything that's in there?
well, we're gonna need to go through that because some of that is restricted funds. So right now, that 192,000, we didn't go over it yesterday?
No, we did
Okay.
not.
Okay, so we'll just need to make sure we take out anything district court, and district court's funds are
Restricted.
restricted, but they're growing huge.
Okay, so we can use all that. And we're
yes.
gonna have to, if we do the chiller over there, we're gonna have to take some money out of that, and that's about 200,000.
Okay, for the court, yeah, court funds.
Okay.
Okay,
And
so,
is that for fiscal '23?
yeah,
Okay.
We can't get anything done right now. That's why they still have money from 5-year plan last year. We can't get parts for HVAC, things like that, so.
right. So just make sure that you work with the auditor to make sure those things are in there, and then which ones come out of restricted funds.
Okay.
Got it.
Because that way that'll lower our deficit.
Yep.
Okay,
Are we good?
I think so.
Okay. Any direction do we need to give? We're good with what?
I mean, as long as you guys are okay with that, 2 seasonals going to an FTE.
Yep, yep,
Okay,
I am. Bill, you okay with that?
Sure.
Okay.
all right.
Off we go.
I think we're at
Thank you,
airport
Greg.
now.
Do you wanna do JDC?
Juvenile Detention.
Well, we kind of already did that yesterday. So we took the HVAC money and we took it out of ARPA, and then we approved the washer and dryer.
Correct.
Yep. And then,
On one category, to clarify on the software update for the
yes.
control room, that is actually not attached to JT's budget. That is
Okay.
actually absorbed from buildings and grounds.
okay,
I know it kind of got moved to the 2022 budget, but there is some issues on coordinating with the software group on them rewriting everything. It really would be easier to, I mean, we're probably a good 5-6 months out on coordinating with them to
it'll just roll over.
just roll over.
It'll just roll over.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but
So-
if by some miracle they call you, I want you to be able to act on it now.
Okay.
And it's 12,000. I
Right.
mean, it's
Right.
barely over the threshold, so,
Definitely.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you. So we back up to airport.
Stephen, do you have a summary for us at all?
I have one summary. I didn't touch you guys.
That's fine. Talk through it and see if we,
Yeah,
You need copies? Because Jonathan can make, there you go. Go ahead and talk to it while he does that.
yeah,
Go ahead.
that's a printout. I'm not sure, that's not a regular summary. So I'm not sure that show it to Chris and Bill and see
Yeah,
if they
let's
want
take a look
that.
at that.
That's just pulled from the, realistically, our budget, we increased our revenue budget, including capital, we were projecting to show 153,000 of revenue. So,
Oh, this is on the budget, okay.
I'm sorry, you're increasing your revenue by 153,000.
no, it's more than that, it's about 200, a little over 250,000.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, start all over. Here.
So showing even after capital expenses or adding the three items that were cut yesterday, we're showing still having a positive revenue of 156,000, a little over 156,000. If with the three items that were cut yesterday, we're showing a positive revenue of 330,000.
Okay, you're mentioning a bunch of numbers, Stephen. Help me out here. So talking over last year, you've increased your revenue by 200,000.
A little over 200,000.
And that's what you were going to pay for those items that were cut yesterday.
Yep.
Okay, so we're getting a kind of an analysis done, and so those aren't cut for good. It's just until the analysis comes back.
Yeah, so we moved our rent revenue basically to what the rent was actually what that month was when we did this budget. Doesn't mean it won't go higher. We increased our airport use fee to be tied to what our, basically what was approved yesterday as part of that. We increased a couple of our miscellaneous fees and items and things like that, but we've seen increases as well. And that's where we're basically sitting at about 1.52 million dollars in revenue today. Our
In
expense
revenue or fund balance?
in revenue. So the auditor staff is, I disagree how they're, with some of their comments and our fund balance as well. They're allocating our fund balance to the Gulfstream Road without the caveat added in there that we're being reimbursed for it.
Yeah, but if we don't have a date certain that we're being reimbursed for it, then that's an issue.
I understand that, but it's the same caveat that if we're not, we're talking about some things that we will be reimbursed for it. Because if we're gonna coming up and we're gonna start terminating leases if we don't get paid for it soon. So we're gonna get paid back for it. And I understand why they're doing it that way. It's just, that should be identified as well. It's just my comment there.
In the same fiscal year.
In the same fiscal year, because we anticipate getting paid back this year as well. So,
Okay, so let's back up a moment, I'm trying to track. So you've got $1.5 million roughly of revenue increase.
Not increase,
Is
total
that-
revenue.
Total revenue, I'm sorry.
And our total expenses this year, we're sitting at, sorry, gotta get the right page. 1.363 million
1.363 in
in expenses,
expenses.
including capital.
Okay, so if we subtract the 1.363 from the, is it 1.52?
In 152, we basically, in our, even with capital, we're 156,000.
Okay, so that's your positive revenue, the difference between the two?
Yep.
Okay. Okay,
That's no property taxes at all.
Right.
That's all just revenue from airport.
so leases and whatnot.
Leases, operating, the operation of the airport itself.
Right.
Got it.
Okay, so from last year's budget, what have you increased on the expense side?
So we increased a couple of items in our B budget, just a couple items, at most 10%, just our daily operations costs, that's about it. The things that we're seeing are increased costs for garbage, water, sewer, those items. Nothing major.
Utilities.
Nothing major and significant. We aren't requesting new staff. We did request HR to do an analysis on a new staff position. We didn't receive it in time to be able to submit it into the budget though, so we didn't submit it that way. Nothing major other than the capital costs of expenditures. It's just basically the cost of doing business has gone up for our staff and for the business. That's it.
So where are you on the, did you say there was an analysis being done on staff, adding staff?
We asked HR to do an analysis on adding a staff member for a leasing specialist, a leasing and contract specialist. They finished it after budget submittal, or right before it, and we weren't able to get it added in time. But that's a position that we're running into the fact that we have 130 leaseholds, and we are not doing really what we should be doing of inspecting leases. We aren't doing a lot of the requirements for verification of fuel flowage, also with moving into for the storage unit facility type leases where we're taking percentages. We're not having the ability to go and verify numbers and things like that with our current staff.
Right, but we haven't signed that lease.
No, that'd be next week.
Okay.
So commissioners, in regard to that personnel request,
Yeah.
I just got a phone call from Linda this morning saying she forgot to send it to me. I don't know what precipitated that, but the instruction we've been giving to departments, because we've had this issue with others, is they forgot to send us requests, and we've just had to say, we can't add it to your budget unless you approve it at their department meeting. So a personnel request for airport, if you want me to, I can add it in. It's just gonna make your personnel asks increase, but it's not an issue to add it in if you want me to, so.
What are we looking at
It was
for
about-
wage?
It was about 50,000. It was about 50,000. That wasn't the loaded cost. The loaded was about 75.
Okay. What do you figure it's costing us by not having the position?
It's a hard number to adjust.
I know.
Because a lot of it's compliance with leasing. If we find something wrong in the future, it could be millions of dollars. It could be nothing in the future too. It's just that you never know. Because we could also be inspecting, it's also verification of our car rentals where we take 5% of every sale on the airport. We need somebody to truly go in and dig through their numbers and spend time looking through that. Well, that's a very complex thing to go through and verify receipts of that nature of the hundreds of car rental receipts that come through the airport every year.
So you're unable to do that with current staff?
We don't have the staffing load factor to do that today. We just don't have the time.
Can you send us the job description and everything from HR?
Yep.
I'm not ready to add it right now, but after I look at all the backup documentation.
Bill?
That's what I feel like, want to see it, and
Yeah, let's get the job description. Okay, cool. Okay, anything else?
No, there wasn't, really, this budget didn't have a lot of changes. Pretty, just cost of increase to business,
Okay, so you're operating positive cash flow.
yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Stephen? Are we good for now?
Yep.
Pending receipt of the job description for that opening.
Yes,
Thank you, Stephen.
and the analysis.
And the analysis, yes.
Yeah.
And let's see, are we IP? We are. Grant.
Morning, Commissioners. I wasn't sure if you had received. This is just a-
Yeah, I actually have it printed out, 2 copies. Somehow I,
I think we've had this in front of you before.
Thank you.
Just a quick reference point.
did you get one? Because I've got.
Oh, I made one for you too.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good, thanks.
So the high fly overview right now is that we're up on operating expenses, down on capital expenses. Before yesterday, that put us at a negative 140. So we were 140 under last year's requests. Yesterday, we moved the voice over IP project. So that took another 200,000 out of the mix.
Right.
We moved that, I believe we moved that forward to fiscal year 2024 fund
Yes.
balance.
Yes.
Brandy, I sent you a quick note on that.
Yes.
Okay. What that will do is create a little bit of compression on the fund balance for 2024. So I didn't know if you wanted to pull something back from that year into this year. It's still perfectly, the fund balance is still perfectly capable of handling it in 2024. But I just wanted to present that option to you, that we may be able to pull something back to 2023 and get it done to keep that more of a level curve for you.
Right. I also think I mentioned when we go through the assigned fund balance in March that we were going to bump up yours to 1.7.
Okay,
Did I say that out loud?
you did.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I'd still rather leave the 200K for 24.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's fine. And then I don't think we talked about the evidence storage too much, did we? For Watch
We
Guard?
didn't. What that
Okay.
is obviously we're creating a lot of video evidence out of the sheriff's department, and that's only gonna keep increasing with moving body worns into the jail and stuff like that. The current system's been out there for 5 years, which is, especially for storage, the definite useful life on that. We went ahead and paid another year of support to get into year 6 on it, but it's definitely time to replace it. So this is replacing not the system itself, but just the storage repository underneath it, where it's a pretty sophisticated storage system. We keep about 90 days of it on super fast, high speed, in case we have a case that we need to get back into it and retrieve it. And after it ages out, depending on whether it's a felony or a misdemeanor, it gets archived to this gigantic tape library we have over at 911, and it stays on there for whatever amount of time based on the type of issue that it is, whether, misdemeanor, felony. All that said, it's just that storage solution, and it's definitely time for it to be replaced. We're having endless problems with the tape library. It's a robot that picks tapes in and out, and it's messing up all the time. And
So how many years would we expect $300,000 to last?
5 years.
5 years?
So 60 grand a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and that's, I'm sorry, that's only for the body worns. That's
No,
not
that's
for
for the cars as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's KCSO wide.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's for all of the video evidence. that we create.
Okay. That makes me feel better.
Okay. So you indicated that you've got a $140,000 reduction versus fiscal '22.
Yeah, and actually it would be a $340,000 reduction if we take
Oh,
that,
because of the VoIP.
take the VoIP out.
Okay. Okay. And most of that reduction, is that coming by way of what? See
Reduced
budget.
capital expenditures.
Reduced capital, okay.
There were increases to operating expenses.
Yeah,
That's what's
just
on the
about
top
everybody has, yep.
side of that sheet that we're talking about. And it's typical things, just things creeping up over time, costs that are getting passed down to us from, be it communications vendors or software vendors. One is just expanding an operation. The second one down, the dual factor authentication out of the sheriff's department. We've started a pilot on that over the last couple of years and got it going on all our mobile devices, and now we need to move it to all devices within the sheriff's department.
And then we get to be next.
And then probably within a year or two, we might see it. That might be something we might move up the ticket to fiscal year 2023, since we're going to be creating that void with the void project. But it is the single most effective factor in cybersecurity right now. And when we talk about multi-factor authentication, just for the record, what everyone understands, we're talking about more than just a password to sign into our network. We're talking about having it do something like you see with your bank, where when you try to sign in, it then challenges you and sends you a text on your phone that you got to enter a code.
Or like two-factor authorization. kind of thing.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, and it's going to come out of fund balance, your 1.5 million IT fund balance. So keep us up to speed on that as soon as you can, just because we're just in budget process right now. So I want to make sure that it doesn't get missed. We're not doing a bunch of mid-year stuff.
Okay.
We can make sure we can include it for transparency's sake.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, so did we add any further reductions for today? It doesn't sound like it, did we?
We did a little bit in the A budget for juvenile detention, but there
No,
hasn't.
I'm sorry.
Oh, just IT?
IT,
No,
okay.
nope.
So are we good?
I think so, because you don't have any, the personnel requests were handled mid-year, so I don't think we have anything.
No, we won't have any more personnel requests. We will be requesting another GIS employee next fiscal year, but no.
Okay.
Just a heads up.
That works. Thank you, Grant.
Thank you.
Moving on. Okay, veterans, Tom's not here. Nick, Parks and Waterways. Oh, there he is. Go, Tom.
Figured I was early. Well, I was sitting down the hallway, I didn't want to come in and interrupt.
No, yeah, wherever you want.
Just
And do
hit
you
the-
have
hit the
a
magic
summary
button.
for you? I mean, do you have a summary for us by any chance?
I do.
That's a neat shirt.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take it away, Tom. Start with your A budget, I guess, going right down the sheet.
All right, so.
This is our veteran services. Go right ahead.
All right, so for this year, looking at for the A budget for a 3.1% increase for a two-step increase for the veteran service officer. And on the B budget, looking at about an 18% increase. I know that sounds like a lot, but considering how small my budget
In
is.
actual dollars, yeah.
Yeah, the biggest portion of that is adding money for Jessica, the new veteran service officer assistant, to go down to Boise to do some training. So airfare, hotel, and for the week per diem.
Oh, okay.
And then the rest of that is just the typical increases we're seeing from inflation, about 8 to 10%, depending on which line item. And so, in the big picture. And then the C budget, no
increase.
request, no ask. And then the second page that I handed you was the justification for the increase on the A budget.
All right.
And that's basically an extension of what we discussed last year. And, getting my position to what I feel is, market. I provided some documents last year, specifically with Spokane, where the director's position is between $55,000 and $70,000 a year, and the VSOs are up in almost to $55,000 a year.
I think some of this is included in the wage study, which we'll know more on June 14th. So I don't want to double count it.
When is the Veterans Hospital going to be opening? Veterans Home, I'm sorry.
It's scheduled to be open on Veterans Day.
Which year?
November.
Not
Yeah, this year,
This year.
Veterans
This
Day
year.
of this year.
Okay. And they need an administrator, correct?
They do. They're currently hiring for the administrator and the director of nursing, and they'll be opening up the rest of the positions here in the coming months.
When are we concluding, or when is Sylvia presenting the wage study? Is it next month?
June 14th.
Okay.
Yep.
And when, so they're hiring now,
Yes.
and what is the wage range on that?
The wage range, I believe, was 95 to 120.
And you're required to have a license, a nursing home license?
Yes.
Do you have that license?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And how many more employees would you be supervising besides your one, or that position supervises?
Probably about 120.
Yep.
Okay, so the wage study is going to be presented in, well, what is now, a couple of weeks?
Yes.
And so I think we're going to give this serious consideration. But we're trying to do it all within the context of handling everybody.
Yep.
So that we can do it all and have some relative equity, so.
And his position's one of those that's been flagged.
Yeah,
If I could just add a few statistics.
Yeah, go
So
right
our phone
ahead.
calls from just over the last year are up
Yes.
63%. The VA is spending $24 million in Kootenai County alone over the last year. Specifically, as it directly relates to my position, compensation and pension expenditures are up $10 million, from the previous year. So the VA's expenditures in the county continue to increase substantially, and that has a lot to do with the amount of veterans we have in the county are increasing. In addition, our veterans in the county are also, the population is aging, which is requiring more need.
And how many veterans and spouses of veterans do you estimate in the county?
Veterans, the statistics are always so far behind, especially in a fast-growing county. We're still estimating we have over 16,000 veterans in the county, including veterans and spouses alone without children. Could probably almost double that amount, because we do have a lot of surviving spouses that are living in this county that we service as well. So probably in somewhere, the surviving spouses and family members are not counted officially, but we estimate around 30,000, and give or take 5. Yeah.
So you talked about phone calls being up. Wouldn't that partially be because of COVID and not many people are coming in? You guys had your doors locked for a while.
Yeah, it's picked up. We're still getting a lot of people calling in. We don't have as much foot traffic over the last year as a whole, but the last couple months we've broken weekly records of people coming in over the last few months.
How long do you,
It's been kind of wonky, I think, like every other department.
when you're on the phone,
What's that?
when you're on the phone with a veteran or a spouse or whatever, what are your average phone appointment times?
It can go from anywhere from 10 minutes to 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. Every phone call is different. It depends. You don't know what you're going to walk into when you make a phone call.
But a half an hour is not unusual.
Not unusual at all.
So my only recommendation would to take this salary increase out because it's double counted with the wage study.
Help me understand what you mean by double counted, because there are a lot
Yeah,
of.
be careful with
There are
that.
a lot of salary increases requested. So if I take him out, you want me to take everybody out?
Well, we have to go one by one to make sure that it's covered, because I know his is one of the positions that,
Oh, okay. So you probably
of the
have more
6 million.
insight then into what's coming in the 6 million than I do. So you're saying he had also requested an additional FTE.
okay, but
from-
it's not on your sheet.
I know we had talked, and I do have that you're requesting an additional FTE to hire another officer for
Well,
for claims? Or do you?
We had talked about that, but we were holding that because I was working with my liaison, and my
okay.
liaison advised me. I did want to get the numbers ready in case the board decided differently. Last year, we had discussed,
Right.
with all the movement with the state VSOs in the county as well, hiring another VSO, but in speaking with my liaison, he advised me not to put that in this year, and that was, we discussed that
Sure.
last week and made that final decision, but thank you
Okay.
for the help on that.
Yeah, so
But-
remove that as
Yes.
well. Okay.
Yeah.
So remove both.
Okay, so what are we doing? We're taking it out pending the
So
study?
I'll remove the request for a new FTE and then also the request for a salary increase.
Okay.
Remove both pending the wage study.
To your earlier question, Brandy, are we being consistent when we do this?
This is our first day of department meetings, but I would say if a department doesn't present their budget to you, but they have a personnel request that no, they're gonna be left in, and I guess you're saying that's being double counted.
Yeah.
From our perspective, we're saying what you choose to do with the 6 million is gonna affect what we do with all these requests sitting here. So if you choose something with the 6 million, it's just gonna be a blanket across the county, we'll go ahead and remove all these requests.
Okay.
But I need to make sure, like the ones that we've removed so far, I know that they're covered.
No, we don't know that.
Right.
We haven't seen the wage study.
Correct. And I haven't seen it all. I just know that there's a half a dozen positions that Sylvia mentioned to me.
Yeah, we just
So-
want to make sure that I think what you're saying is when we remove these, that we make sure we capture them in the wage study.
Right, which is part of that
You
$6
see what we're
million.
getting at? So don't
Yeah.
think you're being shortchanged here.
No,
What we're
no, I
saying
get
is,
what you're
we don't want to be double counting either.
Yep,
Yeah.
Okay,
But we want to make sure it's accounted for.
yep.
sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, got it. Are we okay with Tom?
I think so.
Bill? Thank you, Tom.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
commissioners.
Mr. Nick, Parks and Waterways, Nick Snyder. I don't know. Ask us after you're done.
I'm gonna make this easy.
I know, I think I have like 13 of these now.
Yeah, but mine's colorful and.
No, I mean, it's of yours. I literally
Oh,
have,
my goodness, Nick.
yeah.
Are you missing any colors?
We want to make sure we're well represented.
Jeez.
So, Commissioners, starting at the top, I figured we'd just eat this apple one bite at a time, starting with a budget. When I submitted my budget to the auditor's office and met with you individually, I did not have any increases to a budget. And I want to make sure it's clear, this was sort of after the fact, and my apologies. I was alerted by another department that they were having their maintenance worker 2 position looked at with HR, which could cause a grade change. So it was something after the fact. I've memorialized those requests to change from a grade 5 to a 7, should it happen. To the auditor's office, I've communicated that. So Brandy, I think, has that in queue. So that could be a change. I just wanted to talk about that just for a second. So that would cause an increase. Those positions are split between parks and the vessel account 50/50. So we'll have to see what those numbers shake out, but more to come on that.
Right, and I will talk to Sylvia because I don't know that that's part of the 6 million. So that's why I'm saying we have to go one by one to determine that.
Sure.
So, so you do have that in here, you don't have that?
It's not on the sheet before you because it came after the fact. I don't
Right,
even
but
have-
it's in the
It's
system.
in the personnel requests that
Yeah.
you've been seeing in the preliminary summary, yes.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure. It's covered one place. And so if it's covered by Sylvia, then we'll make that adjustment. But at this point, I have not heard that that's covered in that 6 million.
Indeed, I just wanted to make sure it was at least discussed. That could be a change. Now, we didn't contemplate it when we put this forward. It happened after the fact. So staying on a budget, the only change we have, if I can draw your attention to snow groomer. So you will see it says an increase in A. It's your first item there, increase on operations manager, but a decrease from vessel. So if I can draw your attention down to vessel account where you see red ink at the very top, decrease ops. All this is, commissioners, is a swap. It's budget neutral. What we're gonna do is put some skin in the game for snow groomers, i.e. add some salary into that program. The operations manager's portion makes the most sense. So again, a reduction out of the vessel account and moving that $9,000 to snow groomers. So.
Got it.
So it's budget neutral from that sense. Going to B budget, starting at the top of your page, you'll see that we have very conservative increases in our B budget. As a matter of fact, we wouldn't even have one at all really if we didn't have a one-time kind of mobile trauma kit. And I'm going to take you through that. Noxious weeds, you'll see it in B budget in green ink. If you drop down, you're going to see it again throughout this budget, and that is B budget parks, and then you're going to see it again in B budget vessel, and those are mobile trauma packs. As you know, our staff works in the backcountry. They went through a stop bleed program with KCSO. If anyone's going to have a significant injury, it's probably our staff at the worst time in the backcountry. So these are kind of one-time purchases. So our B budget really is fairly nominal increase, and for the most part, they're kind of one-time purchase of a trauma pack. So I'm going to move on to the next one, capital. We did discuss that a little bit yesterday, or the board did rather, and that is a backhoe purchase. That's part of our long-term strategic plan. The lion's share of that will be paid from the vessel account. So of $125,000, 90 is coming from vessel. The other one is noxious weeds. We use it to unload and load materials, and of course plow the search and rescue, as a matter of fact, next door, and our office. So that's where the rest will come from. And then again, one more capital purchase, and that is a vehicle. And that would replace a pickup truck. We're going to buy an SUV. It's more fuel efficient. We can still tow light equipment with it. And that will also allow us to trickle our truck down to juvenile detention. So that is the highlights of our budget. If you have any questions, I'm happy to discuss it. Actually, one last thing, and that is the revenue down below for the benefit of the auditor's office as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
And you'll see revenue memorialized at the very near the very bottom of your page. And we don't have one for parks, i.e. levy general fund. We don't have those numbers yet. We anticipate an increase predicated on our environment here in Kootenai County with the growth. And you will also note snow groomer fees. Those fees came in much higher at the end of the year of $14,300. They came in a little bit higher, and state registration, which is not memorialized here intentionally. And that was the number where you could almost set your watch to it. It's like $55,000 for 5 years in a row. July 1 of 2021, the state passed legislation or implemented registration increase for snowmobiles. We will see that check in August of this year. So that would affect our next fiscal year budget. And they've already given us a projection of about $82,000. So I've shared that with Brandy. So we'll have to watch that. If that check doesn't come in as anticipated, we'll make some last minute adjustments, but we do think that we're going to have a significant amount more in that line. So,
I noticed back under your revenue increase, you're picking up $50,000 in boat launch fees.
Indeed, Commissioner, we
About a 33% increase. That's good.
yes, Commissioner. Those well, it's good and bad.
It's about 100% increase from 2 years ago.
It is. It's a significant.
Oh, okay. I'm just looking from fiscal 22.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, do keep in mind the board also, every 5 years, we do a fee study and a recommendation, and the board did choose to increase those. So that's reflected here, but growth certainly is a contributing factor. So while those numbers increase, so does the demand, unfortunately. So
what's your bottom line?
well, as you can see,
It's a $50,000 decrease, or increase, excuse me, in the budget. Is that correct? Total revenue budget increase?
yes, and that's
That's
extremely.
actually, it's in red, so that is a
No, it's an increase. It was just a
I'm sorry, it says increase.
accidental red ink there, but too much color. To that end, that's extremely conservative, we believe. So we wanted to give you a conservative depiction. We actually think revenues will come in higher. So We don't want to,
Doesn't surprise me.
yeah, particularly when it comes to registration for snowmobile and boats. So you'll see our increase on our capital is fairly significant, but it's our one-time backhoe purchase. That's a 20-year machine. So we do anticipate.
How do you use that, Nick?
We use it primarily to pick up gangways on our docks. We have to reach out over the water.
Oh, okay.
And so with the backhoe in, digging trenches for irrigation, lifting supplies and materials. There's ripping out trees. There's a lot of,
Snow removal.
yeah, and we use it for snow removal. So it really is a get it all done machine. And frankly, we should have had one 10 years ago, but we had to save some money and take care of some other stuff. So it's kind of a bucket list item for us. So we're happy to get it done.
Cool. Questions? Leslie, Bill?
I have one quick clarification. I also had down that you guys are freezing your seasonal wage pool in snowmobile. So it'd be a decrease of 2,700.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we're only using full-time employees in snow groomers, so.
Did you want to turn that into overtime?
Well, we already have overtime memorialized. I think we'll be okay. If we had to come back to the board, we would. As you know, Commissioner, we've tightened some things up, so we're comfortable that we can operate within that budget. So if we have to come back in an emergency, we'll certainly come talk to you, but I think we're okay.
And then his request that's budget neutral, it's just changing the account coding basically for those positions. We can just do that now since it's a $0 effect and it doesn't have to be continuously carried forward in the personnel discussions if you want me to do that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's it? Well done. Thank you.
Yes, please.
And here comes the BOCC.
I know. Yes.
Yeah, what's up, Nick?
Before you start,
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
forgive me, Leanna, I dropped the ball on something. So Commissioners, as to our purchases in capital, specifically our vehicle and our backhoe, we have some concerns that, about supply. If we are able to locate within budget and obtain a backhoe and a vehicle prior to fiscal year '23, is that something the Commissioners would entertain?
They're both from fund balance, correct?
They are both fund balance.
Vessel and noxious weed fund balance is fine with me, yes. So
Very-
you'll just have to bring the purchase order to us.
Of course, and we may not be able to, but if we're able to lock one down, we'd sure like to have the opportunity.
Yep.
Thank you very
Great.
much. Leanna.
Thanks.
I apologize.
So Leanna, before you, I have to say, I've gone through each of your spreadsheets. Not much to argue with.
Nope,
It's
maybe
pretty
just a couple
modest.
of things we need to discuss, but I think overall it's pretty clear.
Okay, how would you like to
We'll start with
proceed?
your top page, which is the BOCC office.
Administration?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And we had about a $3,000 increase in that. Essentially, that's an increase in travel for our new incoming commissioner, for travel expenses, for training. So that can all be tied directly to training.
Okay.
Okay?
Didn't we budget for the dishwasher in this year?
We did budget for it. It's not a capital expense.
Right.
I'm hoping that it'll last, but
Yeah, no, I guess you're right, because it gets tricky rolling forward the non-capital. So we do it every year, but it's, if we can not do it.
Non-capital came forward as 0 this year. Right, so I don't know what you mean by roll forward.
Well, we did at the end of last year or something.
Oh.
We did a resolution and put that money back in people's budgets. But if we can avoid doing that, that'd be happier. So we just have capital carry forward and not B budget carry forward. So thank you for putting that in there.
okay. So your second page is the general fund.
Uh-huh.
So we have, you can see, go through your summary page. We reallocated postage from this fund from the general
repro.
fund to reprographics. So it looks like we had a very large decrease, but $300,000 of that was just reallocated over to reprographics. So overall, this fund had an increase of $48,000. And I can kind of show you where the majority of that increase is from community support organizations. Some of the decreases was, we have the new public defender building, and we are not required to pay utilities on that or taxes. So that really helped us bring down our budget.
Okay,
So let's look at the page I gave you, which is the community support page. It looks like this.
that's the spreadsheet.
The spreadsheet. These are all the communities, organizations that have requested funds for next year. The orange color is the request, the red is the increase over last year.
Oh, I see, okay.
So we probably should go through these one at a time and see which of these you want to keep, which ones you want to change, which ones.
Okay, so if we go, let's take it one by
Start
one.
at the top.
Animal, okay, there's
Animal
no
damage.
change there, I would leave that.
Yep.
Community guardians, I guess we'll leave that.
Okay.
Leslie, I know you're gonna have a problem with the next one. I would cut the increase, get rid of the increase. We've had them at 45, they wanna go to 50?
Right, we had them at 45.
I would eliminate
Years.
eliminate the increase.
Okay.
You don't want to cut them in half?
No, I wanna keep them. More than ever.
Bill, you want to cut them in half?
No, I'll eliminate the increase.
So 45,000.
Yep, keep it at 45.
Okay.
Heritage Health, I don't have much visibility.
That one I would recommend cutting in half as well. My understanding is they have funding from other sources, and I'm not sure that they need our support. And I want to reiterate, community support. It's used for annual payments to local service agencies that provide help to needy residents of Kootenai County. That's what this whole community support is. So once again, Coeur d'Alene Economic Development doesn't fit in that category for me. Heritage Health, if they have other funding sources, then, I'm fine with cutting that in half. And I'm kind of want to get back to the fact that it's to provide help to needy residents.
So if we follow that line of reasoning, why would we cut Heritage Health?
Well, because they have other funding sources.
Bill?
I would leave Heritage Health in, and like I said, take out the increase for economic development. I have no problem with that.
Okay. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna leave Heritage Health at 50?
I would.
Leslie,
Cut it, 25.
you wanna go halfway?
No,
You wanna hold to 50?
at 50.
All right, let's leave it for now. Kootenai Recovery, they want an increase of 42,500.
Yes.
So basically, so we were giving them what, 8,500 or 75?
75.
7,500, yeah. They've had some turnover there, and I would kind of like to see their partnerships reach out. If we find someplace else to cut, then we can add it to there, but I don't want to add 42,000 off the top, and I definitely don't want to go to 50,000. I would say bring it up to 10,000 if we find another place to cut. Like if you went Coeur d'Alene Economics Development, cut them 2,500 and added it to Kootenai Recovery Center, an additional to the 5,000 cut. So cut Coeur d'Alene Economic Development by 7,500 and then put that 2,500 towards Kootenai Recovery Center. The reason why is because we don't have a inpatient recovery center now with Kootenai Health closing. So now more of our mental health and our drug people are going to need someplace to go. And so that's why I would make that.
You okay with that? You don't want to take them down any further?
No, I don't.
Okay, so you want to keep economic development at 50?
Correct.
45. You had already cut it to 45.
I'm sorry, at
Take the
45?
increase off of 5, so it's 45, yeah.
Okay, so it's 45. What about Kootenai Recovery? They're at 7,500. Leslie, you're recommending 10? I'm sorry, 10?
Yes.
10?
Instead of 7,500, take them to 10 grand?
Yeah, I would go along with
All
that.
right, let's do that. You're tracking this, I take it?
Okay, so change the 42,500 increase to a $2,500 increase.
That is
Make
correct.
it 10,000.
North Idaho crisis, keep it? 10.
Yes,
Safe passage,
yes.
flat, okay. Soil and water conservation,
I
they're
would,
asking for, is that a $4,000 increase from
Yes.
6 to 10?
Yes.
I don't have it.
I would say keep them at
Keep them at
6.
Keep them at 6.
I think that's the right thing to do.
U of I extension,
No, we don't have to. We cut that 3,000.
yeah, we took it to what, 156?
Well,
Is it?
because of the, hold on. No, this is
There was
a,
that
A little
glitch.
complicated.
did we figure it out?
So they, in the budget last year, they came forward and asked for 156,519. However, in the contract, it was approved at 159,519. So it was a $3,000 increase in the contract. So they asked for the same amount that you approved last year. So in the budget last year, you approved 156,519.
Did we get the backup documentation to find out what happened?
No, we just have the contract that was sent back with a different amount.
It went
And I think
out
it
one
was-
way, it went out one way and came back
Back
another.
in-
Correct.
a
And
different number.
unfortunately, we didn't catch it before we signed it.
Yes. And I
So what
believe
are-
it had something to do with their turnover in their personnel.
Okay.
So,
In fact, I just
so
saw
I
something
just need
about
to
it.
know which amount, do you want to go with the amount that'll be approved in the budget last year or the amount that we approved in the contract last year?
What did we send them anything?
Right now?
Did we send them anything to execute for the next fiscal year? Did we send them a contract?
We're in a current contract. We have not started our next contract process. We don't do that until we approve the dollar amount. Once we
Okay,
approve how much you're willing to give them, then we send them the contract.
okay, so if it went out one way and it came back another,
Yes.
let's go back to the original, take them back to the 156.
156.
What do you think, guys?
That's what I agree
I don't
with.
know what happened there, but
I
never
don't either.
mind.
Okay. Okay,
Okay, so we have nothing further on the NAS study.
right. So there's
Okay.
nothing, no request there.
Okay.
Okay. So I will make those changes
Right.
on,
So let me explain something about economic development, because I understand where Leslie's coming from in terms of leading. And this is no secret. Because of the effects of COVID, people being able to live and work remotely, we've got people that have moved in with, quite frankly, fat wages that have been inflating the housing costs in the area and making it very difficult for locals. If we don't recruit the jobs, and they have a very good track record, economic development does, we're not going to be able to boost the local wages so people can compete.
But we can't recruit the jobs because we have no place for people to live. So once again, it's this circular thing. We are charging taxpayers $45,000 to not bring jobs here because we have no homes here for the people to come. We can't fill jobs that are already here. So how do we bring more jobs in and we have no place to house these people? I do understand what you're saying, but I think that especially for this year, and not knowing where the inflation's going to take us, I don't think that we should support that with taxpayer dollars. If you want to put collection bucket out and have people donate their own money, then that's fine. But I just really feel strongly about we shouldn't be using taxpayer dollars to fund a private organization to bring jobs here when we don't have people here to fill our current jobs and we don't have houses to bring more people in to not fill our current jobs. Sorry, that's.
So what's the end result? Just basically entertain the transplants that are inflating the prices, that are locking the local people out.
Yeah, that's not government's job. The market will take care of itself, and it already has started to. It already has started to. You already see houses on the market longer. You already see some reduction in prices. We're already seeing the downturn that takes care of itself. We have other organizations that are using private money and private ability to help deal with some of the housing crisis. And so that's just me. I am so against taxpayer dollars, especially when it's supposed to provide help to needy residents in Kootenai County. That's where I'm at. But every year I get outvoted because I don't have any metrics.
Look forward, because I've heard my replacement's comments, and I think he's very much in your camp on this issue. So I'm going to hold fast. Bill?
Hold fast.
Okay. But thank you for the discourse. I appreciate it. Okay, then.
So a couple
That's
of
it.
other things on the general fund budget, on your summary sheet there at the bottom, we are requesting a couple of non-capital requests, a 20 terabyte hard drive to store our YouTube videos from these meetings, and also a pendant mic for this room.
And where is that? I'm sorry.
It's on your
It's on
summary
the summary
sheet,
Oh, on the summary
right
sheet.
here, right
Okay.
above the yellow.
A what
above the
mic?
capital. A what?
Did you
You say
change
a what
papers?
ma-
You changed
mic?
papers
I
first.
changed papers.
A pendant mic. You clip on,
Yes.
so you can walk around the room.
Okay. What do we got, general fund? Oh, general fund, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay?
Yeah, and those two items down. Yep, right there.
Right there, okay.
Okay.
That's cool.
I'm
That's good.
fine with
Good
those.
with
I'm
those?
good.
Okay, so
I'm
we'll
good.
move on to the Justice Fund, which is Fund 15. You have your summary sheet there. The increase we have here is about 14,000, and that's essentially because every other year we pay the IAC litigation fund, and this is our year to pay that. So we go up and down every other year.
And I think this might be our last year for Capital Crimes Defense Fund,
Oh, okay,
so that will be nice.
okay. And that went up this year a little bit, so.
Okay, so we're okay with justice, are we?
Yes,
Good. Okay.
litigation
So that was
fund.
Fund 15.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's minimal. Fund 15, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the next one is Fund 19, which is our tourism fund.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a pass-through.
It's just our pass-through account. It's $1,500. It's the money we collect from the simulcast racing. So we collect it from the state and then we distribute it to Post Falls Chamber. So no impact to the county. So that's a pretty straightforward budget amount. And then the last two are the Health District, which we all know that there's an increase
yep.
for Panhandle Health. That was approved in their budget hearing on May 26th.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And so we have an increase overall.
So there was no luck at that meeting.
No, and I'll explain. I should have brought my notes, but go ahead.
So the overall increase, we made we had our original budget last year, and then we made an adjustment when we knew about the HB 318. And so our increase from last year is, I'm sorry, 316, is about $420,000.
Okay, so let me explain what happened at the budget meeting last week. So what happened is when you look at their openings and the people they've lost and you compare that to the county, they almost track precisely. So for example, year-to-date, I want to say calendar year-to-date, they've lost something like 47 or 45 people. Some of those were temps, but if you take the temps out, they've lost 16. So if you look at how do I put this to you, their turnover rate and their vacancy rate, it's almost tracking precisely with ours.
So you're saying they lost 16 FTEs?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to go back and look at it. I didn't bring my notes, but I looked at it very carefully. I looked at it relative to our own turnover rate and our openings, and it basically tracks. So when you look at, for example, the fact that we're looking at potentially an 8% increase in wages, they're looking at about the same thing. So if I would have argued against them, I would have had to argue against us. So when I looked at the stats and I looked at what they were losing and what was available and the openings they had, it almost proportionately tracked what we had as a county.
But what about
I would have
program
lost the vote
cuts?
anyway.
Well, what about program cuts and stuff, other ways for them to,
Yeah,
to
they
rearrange
made
stuff?
other cuts. They had basically very modest increases. I think they had some cuts in the B budget, but I think that their increases there was something like $30,000 or $37,000. So I don't know if you can't really call that a cut, but it was a very modest increase. But yes, they did make cuts to try to contain that.
Okay.
Had I taken a tougher stand, I'd have been outvoted anyway, but that's beside the point.
All right, so we're set on, we're gonna increase this portion of our B budget, but then the half is going to, half of the total is gonna come out of,
The indigent fund, Fund 40?
Yes.
I just want to confirm that the rates that we had, the county portion total was $860,630, and then from House Bill 316, $824,916 still?
Yep,
Okay.
1,685,546.
Okay, just want to confirm.
Yes.
So we will take $824,916 and fund that out of indigent fund, unless you guys decide to do something.
Okay,
ARPA.
and that's for fiscal '23?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so
But
the
eventually
difference.
that money is going to run out, so we'll have to
Yes.
come up with a plan, because we'll have to eventually.
What's in there, about 3 mil?
Oh, it's over, I think because we assigned, I can't give you the exact total, but last year we had about 3.7.
Oh, okay, okay.
They are building, I think we're already at 328,000 in collections just in Fund 40 this year. After the change in county assistance or the indigent program, we now have to collect any reimbursement now has to go to Fund 10, but that money that is in Fund 40 is remaining, but it won't be collected. It will be moved over to this fund that we collected now for Fund 10. And you guys can use that money, obviously, but eventually, they may bring in 350,000 just on the medical side, and you're still looking at 824,000. You're gonna run out of that money eventually.
Sure. But every year we'll deduce where the best place to take it from until we can somehow,
And just to note that Ada County last year did use ARPA money for their health district too. So that's an option for you guys if you decide to go that way, as we build up to levying the full amount.
I'm looking about June 17th to have that ARPA discussion. So,
That's interesting.
but ARPA, it's the same thing though, it's still gonna go away.
It's gonna go away. I was
So
just
we've
gonna
gotta
say,
find
so
a
forget it.
recurring
You have to make
source.
sure you assigned it by 24.
Yeah.
And then assign it, if you guys decide to use it that way, 25, 26, and then maybe that frees up some of that money that you're building in the indigent.
Right, so it's a short-term solution.
It's a short
Yeah.
term to build up to full
They're,
funding.
they're both short-term solutions,
Right.
so, yeah.
Jennifer, that money you said is gonna be brought into Fund 10, is that for next year, or?
For
When we went to
FY23.
IAC training, after that bill passed, that money that we're starting to collect still
This is
this
good.
year needs to now not go into Fund 40, it has to go into Fund 10. Now, right now, we still have the balance, a fund balance that we've collected before
Right.
that change in the indigent Fund 40 on there for collections. And we have the wages, we've taken our 4 positions down to 2 in county assistance, because they're gonna have $50 million still collecting for medical, and then about $5 million in involuntary police holds, so they'll continue collecting, but their salaries right now are taking out of Fund 42, that fund balance, from
So
4
will-
to 2 positions.
Will you guys be budgeting that amount?
It already is.
It already is,
So for next year, you've already put that in?
yes.
We created a new org set
Oh,
for
okay,
it.
okay, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Very good. I didn't know that.
Are we okay then
Any
on
more
Health
questions on
District?
Health District? Okay. And then the last one is the Aquifer.
APD?
And they came to you, this is Fund 49. I gave you, I believe, a copy of the hearing handout that I've made for them. So you can kind of see overall their revenue and their expenses. And they'll be pulling in almost $170,000 from their fund balance to cover their expenses for next year.
Are they still charging, is it 574?
574.
Same. They did not change their rate for next year.
They are looking at it if their projects over and over again don't come to fruition. So they're really concentrating on the, recharge areas and getting some property there to protect those recharge areas. And so if that keeps falling through, or if they get the property for nothing, then they'll look at moving that rate again.
And they have a hearing scheduled June 8th. so in the-
June 8th is on a
next week.
Wednesday.
So they'll have their
Yeah.
hearing, and then they will come to our budget hearing and present again.
Yeah, in August. So,
Right, so in August, we have them, we have EMS, and then it's us, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions on anything?
easy peasy.
As usual, Leanna, good job.
I have a question. So I have a
Yes.
BOCC personnel request for a step increase for the admin supervisor. So along the same lines of the veteran service request, do you want me to strike that pending the wage study?
No, because that's not one that is recognized at the wage study at this point. If it is, we'll pull it, but I have to meet with, it's not, so we're gonna keep it.
Okay.
As long as two of us.
Say that again? I'm
So you
sorry,
have
I
a
just-
personnel request to increase the admin supervisor from step 2 to step 5. It's an $8,700 request. And I
Loaded.
just wanted clarification based on the discussion with Veteran Services, because we struck that and we struck juvenile detention. So I just want to make sure I'm tracking, do I need to
Right.
delete this request or
Leave it
not?
in.
Right, so we're leaving it in, as long as two of us agree.
Yeah,
Okay,
Okay.
yep.
but we're treating it from the wage study, isn't that correct?
No, this is one of those, it's not. Sylvia,
There's one?
you gotta come to a.
Help me out
thing.
here.
Yeah. So there's positions that have been identified that are below market.
Yes.
This one isn't necessarily identified as below market. It's
We're
to
talking
combat
VS
an internal,
Is this VSO now?
do you want to leave?
Yes, I'm leaving now.
Let her leave, please.
Well, yeah, you're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Should wait till she's gone. This is a raise for Leanna to get her more,
Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I was on
that's
the
okay.
wrong page.
That's
Go
okay.
ahead.
It's all right. So this is one that is not addressed by the 6 million in wage study.
Right.
Right.
There aren't any additional steps or reclassifications considered in the wage study. So
Correct.
what we're doing is looking at positions that we're at market, and we're taking an aggressive approach with the plan. And I'll just tell you, all our grades are going to shift up. So grade 3 pay is now grade 2 pay.
Right.
Everybody, they all go up because we need to make some significant adjustments.
Yep.
That'll address some of our market issues, but then we're also going to have to move some positions. If that didn't take care of their market issue, then we have to move them to a different grade.
Right.
So steps were not factored in at this point.
Right.
So that would be the same for VSO.
Right.
No additional steps were
Right.
factored in.
But VSOs
Go ahead.
may be taken care of with the movement, is what I'm saying.
We can look at that.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, originally we thought we had matches for that position, and we don't.
I thought you
Yeah,
did.
we did too when we first, the way Ameriben was showing us information on screen, because they didn't want to give out any
Yeah.
drafts and stuff. We're like, oh, that looks good. But then when they went back and double checked, I think there were only 2 agencies for a match, and we need 3.
Okay. So that, and we also have RMO, and we also have Repro. So why don't you and I get on those, and then we'll add anything back into that we need to. That's not handled by that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm making my list.
Okay, so what we're saying, I want to go back to
Okay.
Randy's, are you
Yes.
getting confused, or are we okay?
So what I'm hearing is you will discuss with Sylvia about the veteran service request.
Correct.
Because it sounded to me like it's not covered in the wage study. Yeah, so if it needs to get added back in, I want to make sure that.
Yes.
I get
We'll let
notified.
you know. We'll
And
let
for
you-
now, leave the BOCC request in as
Yes.
well.
And the BOCC request can be in forever because it's not addressed by what we're talking about.
Okay.
And we have Nancy doing some calculations initially with not aging the data. And we're going to have her add a percentage and age it for us as well. It may
Okay.
be as high as 6% to age it.
Wow.
We're hearing increases
As high as what?
6% for an aging factor. In a meeting I was in a few weeks ago, counties are proposing, one county was proposing a 9% across the board increase.
Where are they getting their money from?
I don't know, we'll see if it makes it through. I've heard 7, 4 to 5, but this was more along agencies that felt like they were within market. So
Okay.
it's gonna be.
Well, it's a process, and hopefully we can get everything cleaned up by June 14th.
Yes.
And then that way we'll have all the information.
Okay, so give me, I hate to do this over and over again, give me a summary on these three, VSO, the admin, I understand.
Right.
And what was the other one?
So,
RMO.
Yeah, so RMO, VSO, Repro
Go ahead.
are the ones that,
We don't have match, so to speak.
right.
Right.
And we're going to internal align and do some other stuff that way to do that. I was under the impression that VSO was, because the last I heard, VSO was included.
So for Brandy's purposes, are we including at this point or excluding?
Excluding right now today until we get the
Okay.
analysis done, and then we can bring it back if the analysis does not prove to make them where they need to go.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so we took up the issue of Leanna. And
Yes.
Oh, I think we just wanted to clarify, so we're
Is it better just to leave it in, because it's like, every time she has to make an adjustment in the system, and then we can address it after the fact? And then, I mean, we can keep notes of these positions, but it sounds like it's not in the study.
Well,
What works best for you?
It would be easier to just leave it in right now because I have to do some manual work to take it out. And then if you're just gonna add it back in after you go talk with Sylvia, it would probably be some wasted effort
You know,
there.
if we're gonna err, let's err on a higher deficit so that we know what we have to cut. So that would say leave it in.
So leave in the veterans position.
I would leave it in.
Okay.
And then we'll make notes on the spreadsheet that we
Is that
discussed
okay?
this, and we'll readdress it.
that's fine.
Okay.
Because we're leaving in RMO and Repro isn't included as a
Right.
request, but, okay.
You okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
As long as we're on the subject of staff and with Leanna, did we consider other members of our staff? That's been bugging me for the past couple of days, and I'm thinking.
Because some of our staff are included in the wage study.
Okay.
So that's why there's more analysis that needs to be done. But I knew that her position was not.
Was not.
Was
How do
not,
you
so-
match Nancy Pluck?
We actually had received preliminary data. I think we did get matches on hers.
Because the reason I'm asking is because of the programming skills
Right, right.
and the time and the money savings that
Right.
produced. But go
We
ahead.
gave them job descriptions, and I believe they did find a match for that
Okay,
senior business
okay.
analyst position, so. And what we're seeing initially is that the shift that we're doing with the grade wages, you know, everybody moving up. So a grade 2, like I said, a grade 2 salary now becomes a grade 3 salary, that takes care of a lot of our market deficiencies. And then there's probably about 20 positions that we may have to move and put in another grade. So that's what we're looking at right now.
Right, so one of our staff is looking at moving another grade, and that's why I did not want Leanna to be left
Yeah, no,
behind,
fair
because
enough.
hers is not. So, there's,
What are we looking at, just roughly, monetarily? 6 mil?
Well, we indicated a placeholder of 6 million. Nancy, we gave her some spreadsheets, and she's doing those calculations now for us. And that's without aging, so I've still got to tell her what percentage to age the data. And I'll probably go high at this point, just because today I ran an open position report, and we have 104 vacancies.
Oh, not bad,
And-
from 97 to 104.
And we've probably got 15 pending exits.
15
So we're bleeding.
pending
We're bleeding.
exits.
We're bleeding.
We'll take a look at the open positions at a certain amount of days, if you guys want to do the 50%, 75% funding like we did last year. too.
Yeah,
So when you talk about aging, what that means is basically,
It's,
contrary to what it sounds, it's actually bringing it up to current,
yes.
considering the fact that the data's older.
yes,
Okay.
yes, correct. So you could call it like a COLA. What you're trying to do is project what are these agencies that we're benchmarking against projecting to do for fiscal year '23. factoring inflation, COLA, and then any other increases they may be doing. And like I mentioned, some were saying as high as 9%.
So the 6 mil as a placeholder, I suspect is unloaded.
It was unloaded.
So we're looking at maybe 7.5.
Yeah. That's a strategy I think we're gonna have to take in order to at least try and get these positions filled. And last couple of exit interviews we got, they did quote pay.
Yep.
But it's a factor of a
What are you
lot
gonna
of
do?
things as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Agencies that pay more also are having a hard time recruiting too, so.
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah, it's
smaller
not, it
workforce.
doesn't fix it. I mean, it doesn't
No,
automatically
yeah.
fix it.
We're a microcosm of what's going on in the country as a whole, yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we're okay then. Jonathan, anyone on? I'm sorry?
So we're actually just
Recessing.
recessing until 1 or 1:15 and 1:15
Should we take up public comment anyway? We got a few minutes.
if you want.
Yeah, public comment, any? Jonathan says no. What time do we have? It is 11:31 and we are recessing until, is it 1 p.m.?
Looks like 1:15.
We'll-
She
we'll
may be
try
here
for
at 1?
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. So we can come and wait for her, I suppose.
Yeah, we could do
or-
that.
And I can check and see what she's doing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is it a problem to say 1:15? So
No,
if
we
it
can do
doesn't mess
that.
her up on the back end, let's just keep it at 1:15. Yeah, we'll just recess till 1:15.
I think I'm gonna leave this stuff here for now.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, whatever it is he did.
Deliberations, and at this time, we'll be entertaining our public defender, and it's headed up by Ann Taylor. Ann, go right ahead, please.
I put on your table
I'm sorry. Thank you.
All right, we put on your table a summary of where we need to go this year. The very top one is increases to the A budget. I understand that personnel and wages and COLAs and all of those kinds of things will be taken up with an HR wage study a little bit later. This is a particular group of people that had compression happen last year during the raise process. We had sought to address that during the course of the year, and that wasn't something that we could do. So I'm asking for the adjustments
to defeat the compression that they have right now before there's raises, so the problem doesn't get any worse. We also have our admin supervisor, who is graded at a different grade than the equivalent at the prosecutor's office, and so I wanted to bring that supervisor to the right grade and the right pay for parity purposes. So that's the only thing that's addressed in a budget, not anything else to do with anybody else. It's to deal with parity and with compression. That really needs to be addressed.
Okay, so those are the first two items indicated, the 8,000 and the 4,700.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Those are in the blue box. In the
Okay.
pink box is the B budget, and you can just see the summary of the increase that we've asked for this year compared to last fiscal year. If you look at the next page, that's taken right from the budget paperwork that we forwarded. This is just a summary to let you know about the increase that we're asking for. Part of that relates to the rent cost that's increased from where we were before in our new facility. And then the rest of the increase has a lot to do with the inflation and the growth of our community and the needs to match that going forward in the next fiscal year. We can tell you, for example, that travel costs have gone way, way up, and now with the trials happening, we end up with more travel costs, and our line item is over right now, so that's one of the areas that's of particular concern to us.
And just quickly, what line item is the rent? Trying to get through this here.
Let me find that for you.
Operating property lease 8201. So you just gotta look. What's the highest number on this?
That's what I was looking for
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah. It's like right about here,
Oh,
like,
operating property lease, there it is.
yeah,
206?
yeah. Because it's going up to 16,000 a month.
I think it's just over 16 a month.
Yeah.
And where
Which is
were
that
we?
5
Were we at 10?
escalation. Well, it's not apples to apples because we were at 10, but
Then
then,
you had the taxes and the other,
yes.
Yeah.
And building and grounds and all kinds of other stuff.
so I'm just trying to get a sense for the dimension of it. So is the differential like roughly 5,000 or 6,000 a month?
So on August 1st of this year, the rent goes to $17,136.
Okay, go ahead.
So that's, what were we paying before, 7,800?
Something like that, but then we added all this stuff up and it was
Okay.
pretty comparable to the things
So
because
even if the
taxes,
78
utilities.
went to 10, still you got 7,000. I'm just trying to get a feel because if it's 7,000 roughly a month, and I'm just rounding it off, well, there's $84,000 a year, so that's taking up a good chunk of your increase,
Yeah.
which is understandable, but I'm just, okay.
Yeah, 84,000 out of the 133. Yeah.
Right.
And then we've also asked for additional funding from Public Defense Commission, and we won't know until July.
We will not know until July.
Yeah.
As
So-
you guys know, the workload was underfunded last year as well.
Yeah.
I don't know what will happen this year, but we have multiple positions we have not been able to fill because of that.
So the compression you want to solve this year.
Yeah.
Well, not 22, but in 23.
Yeah, for this next budget.
Oh, for the
yes.
next budget?
Yeah.
Okay,
She
I'm
would
good
solve
with
it.
that.
She would solve it next week if we let her.
Yeah, I know that. That's why.
She has the money too.
That's why I asked.
Yeah. Well, and she has the money too. And what I was going to do is check with Sylvia just to see where we're at with those two things and see what she says. Because if we lose these people, we're going to pay more to
If
rehire
you've
them.
got the money, and you can check with Sylvia, I'm fine.
What do I need from Sylvia? I definitely have the money. I could do status change forms with,
Well, you would come to a HR meeting, so you do
Just
an HR
schedule an
request.
HR meeting.
Yeah, so you got two of us saying to schedule it.
Go ahead.
I will do that and see if I can get those forward now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Not a problem. Thank you.
15 more exits this week. 104 open.
This week.
This week alone.
Oh my gosh.
We're bleeding. You're not alone. We're bleeding.
It's terrible. I mean, we're so busy,
Yeah.
but
Which, okay, so, well, let's finish your thing, then we'll talk
go
about
ahead.
conflict.
I think unless you want me to speak to each line item, I provided in the budget we forwarded as well as a summary page. And our explanation is a chunk of that increase is the rent and then the inflation rate. We added the
Yeah.
inflation rate to every line item. We're particularly concerned with travel.
Yeah, because truthfully, between the rent increase and if you assume 8% CPI increase on the 400,000, well, there's probably 110,000 of your 133,000 increase. So going through line by line item for $23,000, I don't see the point, unless there's something that we think is glaring.
I'm not seeing anything glaring.
I don't think so. A lot of it is, it's the rent and the your basically cost increases, which everybody seems to be getting hit on their B budget.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point, I don't see anything really that needs to be addressed. And then hopefully PDC will come through with enough to
I think you're fine.
knock off some of our rent or something.
If they fully fund all those positions we're supposed to have, I'd be pretty excited about that too.
How many openings?
6.
So you have 6 attorney openings right now.
I have one person that's gonna fill one in August.
That's it.
Does that include Adam?
Yeah.
Oh, so you still have 6 after that one. Okay, and then what about support positions?
We have one legal assistant, we have 2 legal assistants,
And those 2 positions.
plus the legal assistant, right?
I don't think there's a legal assistant.
There is, we froze one.
Oh, I didn't count
Yeah.
the first one.
3.
And how many have you lost recently?
Recently, knock on wood, we have been a bit more stable. And last year, the board gave raises and then we got a COLA on top of that. And that meant a lot. And then getting the new building meant a lot. And right now, we're doing pretty good. We had a secretary choose to leave for a variety of reasons. And who else did we? We had one of our legal assistants that had been with us for quite a while changed to a different job, which, you know, I mean, people are going to do that after a while. But we're doing pretty good right now. So knock on wood, it stays that way. We've got a great team.
But
I want to keep them. I really want to keep them.
The problem, part of the problem is their caseloads are so high
I know, I was just
because of
gonna
the
ask you
6. Yeah. 'cause
What are
of
you
the 6
running on
openings.
average?
With our caseloads, if we, and Jen does this periodically for me, she does the felony case equivalent, which is the PDC report number. All of our felony attorneys are over right now, every single one of them. I work things on a daily basis. I assign all the cases. I have people tell me if they're kind of bottlenecked, if they've got trials coming or too many motions, and then we pull them out of the case rotation. If they're going to be gone on training or vacation, or in jury trial, an extended one, we pull them out of the rotation. But we're assigning 20, 30 cases every single day. We're busy.
You had 40 Tuesday morning.
That was the in custody number. There were
Oh,
40
okay.
felonies, 50, almost 50 total in custody people. Those have not hit my assignment
How about today?
queue
Oh,
yet.
today?
They're coming. They're
Oh,
coming.
gosh.
Should we take up contract?
Yes, so our conflict attorneys, those are dwindling as well. We've had a couple resignations and then another one, I assume, is going to resign today. So where that causes problems is if Ann can't conflict out, then, I mean, we've got to have somebody take the cases. So there was a working group that met Tuesday morning. We've got some motion forward. But one of the things that is going to come before the board is an addendum to their contracts because there are categories of cases and we want to be able to take some of the current conflicts and up their categories, have them handle some higher categories. And then the amount of money too. We're like half of what
we're not
federal
we're underspending
cases.
basically.
Well, what I mean is what we pay a conflict attorney to handle cases is about half of what the federal agencies pay
Okay.
Yeah. So that will come with an increase there, and it won't hurt us in 22, but 23 going forward, we'll just have to see how things plan out. But if we don't get more conflict attorneys, then we're going to save a lot of money, and I don't know what the indigents are going to do, though. So,
I don't know what the judges will probably just start appointing people. I don't know. I mean,
oh, I didn't even think about that.
don't have any idea how it'll
Right.
work. One of the things that other counties, two other counties have looked at, one is doing it, is organizing a conflict office.
Mhm.
At this point, it wouldn't make sense to do it until we find out what's going to happen with the funding.
Mhm.
But depending on what happens, that might make some sense.
Well, I kind of look at Scott as the conflict office anyway, even though that they're not under his umbrella. He's fulfilling that role, I guess. So I'm not sure how that would look. I'd want to talk about it and see what that would look.
Depending on how things move forward with House Bill 735.
Yes.
Chat about that a different time.
Yes, exactly. So, we need that working group to start, is
So
what
they're
we
going
need
to
to
take
do.
that up at this next legislative session.
The bill passed. The next step is to try to figure out how indigent defense is going to be delivered. And my understanding is a working group was going to be convened and public defenders would get some seats at the table and try to come up with a
So the
plan.
bill essentially establishes state funding.
Yes.
It does not establish a sufficient amount.
No, that's an issue, but we can address that going forward,
Yeah.
too. So, yeah, they used 2020, and that was not a good year.
So they
to
haven't
base it
decided
on.
if they're going to go regionalized. That's
That's
yet
what
to
the
be
working
determined.
group.
Okay.
That's what the working group is for.
Okay.
Yep.
Challenge identified.
Yep. So we'll be able to pull that 12 off if it comes before us next week. So the 12.
I think you're fine, Ian. So we'll see what we can do with 2 positions, right?
Yes, correct.
We've got the money,
We do? Yeah. We
so
do.
put it on the HR agenda for, would it be next week?
Yeah, June 9th.
There you go.
Okay, we'll do it. Thank you.
You bet.
Oh, there it is. So if you just want to call for public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're about concluded. Public comment. Nothing. Okay, 1:31, meeting adjourned. Thank you.